Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports with me, Coach Ryan D. That game is going to leave you with all kinds of emotions. And I'm telling you right now, I got tons of emotions as a Jets fan. They remind me of a different YouTuber that is a little bit more popular than I.
On its own, you would never believe that team would A, make the playoffs, and B, do anything in them.
I feel you sometimes, Steve, but on this channel, I try to keep it as level-headed as possible on this one. So even though I'm feeling that way about this game, there's a whole bunch of really tough emotions in my head about the Winnipeg Jets and what they need to fix. This video is going to address the top 3 things that the Winnipeg Jets need to correct in order to get back on track. And we're going to recap this unbelievable game between the Jets and the Wild, because if we strip away all this Winnipeg stuff draped all over me and deep within my heart, I have to admit, as an avid hockey coach, fan, and aficionado of this game, that was an amazing game to watch. If you are a first-time fan of the NHL and said, hey, what game should I watch? That's the game you should watch to become a fan of hockey. So the Minnesota Wild down the Winnipeg Jets 6-5, tear out the hearts of Winnipeggers, continue their romp into first place. Their first line rolls over Winnipeg with 3 points each. A hat trick from Eriksson Ek, 3 assists from public enemy number 1 in Winnipeg, Kirill Kaprizov, a bunch of weird bounces off the leg. We're going to get after all these things, and then we're going to recap what the Jets did well, what the Wild did well, and what needs to happen going forward. Jets fans, Wild guest fans, welcome to Hot Garbage Sports. We're going to get after it.
Hey, come on!
The center penalty coming up.
Offside. Full intro. So what are the 3 things the Jets need to do in order to tighten up and correct going forward? These are things we saw in today's game. Number 1, Declan Schroeder said this on the Hockey Writers. I couldn't agree more. Connor Hellebuyck still needs to be better. Yep, I know. Start the video off with that, Ryan. Comment section jumping down your throat, Ryan. Facebook, Twitter, everybody lights them up. Clown emojis for days. But at the end of the day, 6 goals, it's not acceptable off 30 shots. It's a sub 900 save percentage. Yes, bad luck happens, but as a great professor once told me in university, luck comes to those who have the skill and ability to capitalize on opportunities put in front of them. And the Wild do that today. So 2 bad bounces, yes, but in the game of hockey, doing things like pucks on net, old cliche, usually leads to good things. Good habits lead to good things, and good behaviors lead to good things. That's why we don't just analyze the game from a statistical measurement, because stats only tell you part of the game. Any great leader, any great sports aficionado, any great coach is going to tell you that behaviors matter as much as the outcome. Yes, in a 1-game series like the NFL playoffs, the outcome is all that really matters. But in hockey, because you have 7-game series and 82-game seasons, the behaviors and repeatable good behaviors or negative behaviors can lead to outcomes. And that's what's happening here. Hellebuyck, he's got to pick it up. Better game today from Helly. Couple bad bounces, but it's still 6 goals and 30 shots. Number 2. They have to start reducing the amount of shots and where those shots are coming on from. 44 shots against tonight. I understand it's overtime, but let's go ahead and take a look at the shot spread. If you take a look at the shots for the Minnesota Wild, all 44 of them, you would take a look at this heat map and go, those look pretty dangerous. And that's because they are. Great teams keep shots to the outside, and great teams keep scoring chances at a low. The Jets were only able to block 16 of those 44 shots. The Minnesota Wild, they blocked 22 shots, keeping Winnipeg's total at 30. And speaking of shots, Winnipeg's just giving up too many in the thirds and in the second. So 18 of those, they were given up in the third. 11 of those were given up in the second. Once again, the Jets start off like a house on fire, but it tapers down near the end. Voice of public opinion, come on in. But Ryan, the Jets scored 2 goals in the third. Behaviors off 5 shots. 2 beautiful goals. Love them. Take the results any way you can get them. But at the end of the day, 5 shots, not acceptable. Scoring 2 out of 5 or 40%, not sustainable. Behaviors, meaning 10 or more shots a period, is what you're looking for. The Jets have yet to do that this season. So that was number 2. Number 3 is the Jets got to stay out of the penalty box. Now, I adore, and you're going to see the clips, I adore tough hockey. We're going to talk about Kaprizov's elbow. We're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about Dubois' penalty on Kaprizov. But what Dubois did to Kaprizov cost the Jets 2 minutes. Now, I'm not blaming Dubois. Y'all got to take your logical, pragmatic hats off here. And you got to put on your emotional, I'm in the middle of a heated battle and a warrior hats on here, because Pierre-Luc Dubois is a team guy and he sees his buddy Logan Stanley eat one of the cheapest elbows I've seen. So he responds. He takes his shot when he has an opportunity. It's a clear trip and call. Could have even been a slew foot, but it's a trip, takes 2 minutes. On one hand, I would have done, I have done, and I agree with Dubois taking the run at Kaprizov, because that elbow Kaprizov landed on Stanley. If it lands on anybody else, even on Stanley, that could be a career ender. That's a dirty, dirty hit. Absolute garbage play. So Dubois says, you're going to take liberties with my buddy. I'm going to take liberties with yours. And they usually do it in a way like that. So the Wild make them pay 2 minutes, 3 power play goals against the Jets tonight. Got to stay out of the box. 17 penalty minutes. I know the Wild took 19, and I love tough hockey as much as the next guy. It does, and it has cost the Jets in the last 3 games. So emotionally, I agree with Dubois. The caveman in me, all day, baby. Go get that guy. Pragmatically, it hurt us. Whatever side of the fence you sit on, side of the fence you're going to sit on. Let's talk about that Kaprizov elbow. Doesn't look like a big deal, but in hockey land, and especially the NHL, it's very controversial among players, mostly fans. That's who we talk to about here. In the fan world, when someone gets really badly injured, there's a lot of people that get on the side of that guy's dirty, it shouldn't have happened. But when somebody doesn't get injured, then you hear more of the guys going, it's tough hockey, buckle up, buttercup. Well, when you target the head, you can't really just suspend based on outcome. Like the NHL legitimately only suspends on outcome. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's exactly what they do. If the guy doesn't get hurt, the NHL doesn't seem to care. And that's not really the right way it's supposed to happen. That's like saying, officer, I was speeding, but nobody got hurt. You're right, Ryan. I'm going to let you off with a warning. Never happens. But it does in the NHL. So Kaprizov targets the head of Stanley. To me, that's 2 minutes. That's 10. That's a game ejection. Should be suspendable. I mean, you can't jump at a guy's head like that. It's dangerous play. Digressing. The NHL won't do anything. But 4 games for Schiefele? Yeah, absolutely the right call for a body check. Now on to the Minnesota Wild. Eriksson Ek, he's really finding his game. He's gone from a defensive specialist to a very balanced two-way player, and that is thanks to Kaprizov and Zuccarello. Zuccarello and Kaprizov are excellent players. I don't like Kaprizov. I don't like the fact that he turned down an 8-year deal. I think he's a bit of a whiner using the KHL to hold the NHL and the Minnesota Wild hostage. I watch his game. I hate it, but he gets points. So if you're a Wild fan, you got to love this guy. He gets points. He's like the Russian Corey Perry. He's just running around, slashing guys, causing hell everywhere he goes. He's just not on my team, and he's never going to be on my Olympic team. So I don't like Kaprizov, but that's a personal bias. Wild fans, no problem if you like him. Eriksson Ek, very solid two-way player, and Zuccarello is really finding his stride with the Wild. And the Wild really are built to win every game by a goal, and they did it again. They're a perfect 3-0. They stand alone on top of the division. They find ways to grind out games. And even when Cam Talbot finally falls on his face, we talk about the fact that the only question mark on the Wild is Cam Talbot's streakiness. So he gets streaky, but the rest of the team makes up for it. It's a deep team. Doesn't mean the Jets can't beat him, though, as the series goes on. Now 0-3 for the Jets. What does that mean? Yeah, we could all sit in the camp and go, it's only 3 games. There's 79 left. And then we can count to 78 and 77 and 76 and so forth and keep going down the fact. But we keep coming back to the point about behaviors. 3 games in, there are not enough positive behaviors coming from Winnipeg that state this is going to be a cup contending team. Doesn't mean it won't change, just not enough positive behaviors. Not skating when required, but improvements. And improvements in the sense that the forwards played better with the defensemen today. The gap shrunk between the defensemen and the forwards today. They played with a little bit more speed, which was excellent. They looked smoother. They capitalized on opportunities. They potted 5. You can't knock any of that. That is all great stuff. Super positive. So if you're in the Jets camp that is going, hey, we stole a point, better than nothing, we're on the way up, no problem. If you're in the point going, panic, absolutely panic. You know what? I hate to say it. You're justified. You absolutely, it's 0-3 that's a problem. Cup contending teams don't go 0-3 to start, unless you're the St. Louis Blues, but it's a different story. In this story, Kyle Connor big positive. 2-goal game, looked fantastic, deadly shooter. PLD, once again, big positive. Guy looks awesome on the power play in the middle for the Jets. I mean, it's a big body. He's doing what he needs to do. This is a totally different Pierre-Luc Dubois. And for those of you that followed my channel last year, you'll know I didn't like Dubois last year. It's not that I didn't like the player. I like Dubois a lot, but I didn't like his game at all last year. I really like his game this year. This is the Dubois I remember and know. This is the Dubois that's going to play himself into a $7+ million a year contract and be our second line center for some time. Dubois is looking good and he's on the up and up. Mark Schiefele, sick hands at the end. Loved it. This guy is one of the most talented offensive guys in the league. Like, you just see magic from Schiefele and he reminds you of it from time to time and people go, wow, I had no idea he could do that. He can. He's really good. So that looks good. Nate Schmidt is also a top pairing defenseman. Yeah, duh, Ryan. Thanks. Nobody really is. I mean, Schmidt looks awesome. This is a great pickup and it's $6 million a year. It is right where you'd want to be for a guy who isn't a top 30 defenseman in the NHL, but is absolutely a top 60 and a true top pairing defenseman. Although a lower top pairing one. You put him together with Morrissey, looks good. Morrissey is going forward again. We talked about the Nate Schmidt effect. Nate Schmidt allows Josh Morrissey to play his game better. Morrissey gets a nice goal today. Morrissey's on the up and up. Brenden Dillon's fight against Nick Foligno's brother, Marcus Foligno. Superman punch aside.
Superman punch!
Superman punch. Thanks, Michael Cole. Superman punch aside. I mean, that was awesome. I actually came out of my seat for that one. I thought that was super cool. Missed him and everything. Brenden Dillon is a really nice add to the Jets too, and clearly a big tough man, but so is Foligno. So this is a really nice fight. That jacks everybody up. That is the exact reason, if you want to point to anyone that says fighting should be out of the game, that's why players like having fighting in the game. Both teams got jacked up about that. I'm not saying whether I like it or don't, because honestly, I could take it or leave it. But when I see stuff like that, both sides get jacked up, crowd gets jacked up. It's good things. So that was a pretty cool fight. Neil Pionk playing with Brenden Dillon makes a lot of sense. Now, Beaulieu comes into the lineup today. Beaulieu, they're going to play 7 defensemen and 11 forwards. I don't know why, other than the fact that Maurice wants to go ahead and give Beaulieu ice time. He doesn't want to take Stanley out. And on this channel, I've talked about it. You got to invest in the young guys now if you want it to play dividends in the future. Stanley hasn't cost us these 3 games. He hasn't been solid, but he hasn't cost us these 3 games. It's not his fault. We've lost them. So I'm okay if you're going to leave Stanley in and give him the reps, but you do this at the expense of Cole Perfetti. Cole Perfetti needs these 40 games. Cole Perfetti needs to see a little bit of power play time. Cole Perfetti needs to be developing. So I disagree with this play, especially over the fact that Nathan Beaulieu only has 79 games left as a Jet. He won't be re-signed. Mark my words. Come mark this back in the calendar. Beaulieu ain't getting re-signed. Perfetti's the future. I don't see any reason to invest in Beaulieu. He doesn't need the reps. He can come in cold. He'll be just fine. We know who Nathan Beaulieu is. So does Paul Maurice. But Paul Maurice loves his vets, so he gets Beaulieu some reps. I don't love it. I don't hate it. And my buddy Brian Todd over in the Your Winnipeg Jets homepage, Facebook group, kind of decent, great people in it, just like Winnipeg, great people all the time. But Brian states that he thinks, you know what, Beaulieu going into the lineup is Paul Maurice's chance at improving the penalty kill. It gives him a reliable penalty kill there to put in there because the penalty kill hasn't been super good and the Jets continue to take penalties. I think this is a really pragmatic way to think. I didn't think like this because frankly, I think there's enough penalty killers to go in, but I think Brian does an excellent job articulating what's in Paul Maurice's head because that is a very Paul Maurice thing to do. So don't love it. Don't hate it. Would have absolutely done Perfetti, but Brian gives a reasonable and well thought out explanation for that. Thanks for that, Brian. I really appreciate it. Smart analysis. Now, speaking of guys who play on a 4th line, there wasn't really a 4th line because you have 11 forwards, but Riley Nash, Mr. Everywhere for the Jets. He's on the power play. He's on the kill. The guy's the goat of goats. Put Nash wherever you want to put him. Paul Maurice says, I'm going to feed him ice time on special teams. Nash looks, not bad on the power play. I understand the logic of putting the 2 big bodies of Nash and Pierre-Luc Dubois in front of the net, especially against the big boys on Minnesota. It's a big team. Ironic that their captain's a little guy and their leading scorer is a little guy, but outside of that, it's a big freaking team. And both those guys I just mentioned, they play big. They play big minutes. Spurgeon is one of the best defensemen in the NHL and a great sleeper candidate to make the Team Canada Olympic squad. He is super, super good at what he does. Came back from that puck off his knee earlier in the game, plays a really good game for Minnesota. So Riley Nash and Luc Dubois in front of the net is a good mix-up, and this is something we really haven't seen from Maurice, his ability to change. I also really like Nate Schmidt on the top for the power play. There's a lot of options with Schmidt. He's an excellent passer. He knows when to shoot. He's got a really nice slap pass too. Schmidt brings some dynamics to there, and then you go ahead and hit it with Pionk and Morrissey on unit 2. The fact that you now have 3 defensemen that can realistically quarterback this power play at any point in time means that Maurice should be cycling all 3 of them out, and I think that he's been doing it. I've watched him doing it. I think he'll continue to do it. Keeps it fresh, keeps the looks different. Kyle Connor, I missed him on one of the power plays in the beginning. He wasn't in that shooter spot. They didn't have him there. They had Morrissey there. I don't think at any point in time you can start a power play without Kyle Connor starting, but it's a one-off, so I'll forgive it. Kyle Connor needs to be in that shooter position for every power play. Mark Schiefele, this close. He's dialing in that sniper scope on the stick. It's getting closer. Once that gets dialed in, Schiefele will be scoring some goals from there. So I like this idea of Schiefele and Connor on the shooter side with one of those 3 defensemen and Luc Dubois in the middle. The guy on the bottom, again, I love the skill of Cole Perfetti. The big body makes a lot of sense, but the reason I always come back to Perfetti is because the guy is incredibly fast, and when you get the puck, you got to know what to do with it. Not that Nash doesn't know exactly what to do with it. He's an NHL player, but Cole Perfetti has talent that nobody on the team outside of Mark Schiefele, Nick Ehlers, and Kyle Connor has. His stick talent is incredible. His hands are phenomenal. He may be better than some of those players right now in terms of his hands ability. I'm not going to rank him in there. He's just in that group. So on a power play, when you have a young guy like that with speed and hands, he can hunt those loose pucks, and what he loses in body position and strength, he makes up for with in puck talent. Skill does trump a lot of things, but it gives Maurice the option for different looks. So this Nash Dubois thing's kind of neat. There's a whole bunch of different options going on in the Jets power play, and it is a little bit of an evolution of Paul Maurice at this point. And then finally in this video, we talked a lot about the fact that Maurice may be on the hot seat coming to 10 games. Well, that's 3 drops in a row, and that's an ugly one going back in. So there's a lot of Paul Maurice truthers out of there that don't want to hear it. They'll turn off the channel from it, but it is a realistic summary that after the length of time that somebody has been with the team, that the voice finally just stopped. It loses weight. It does. Barry Trotz has been let go from teams. Coach Q has been let go from teams. We're not even going to talk about Babcock. Those are the 2 best coaches in the NHL right now, and they've been let go from teams. Heck, Ducharme's on the hot seat, and he took the Habs to the Stanley Cup final last year. It is what it is. It's coaching in the NHL. Paul Maurice has been a staple in Winnipeg for a very long time. He's an excellent man. He's a better husband. He's fantastic with the kids that are around here, and he's a great dad. He's got a lot of good stuff going on for him. Every story I've heard about Maurice is solid, but this is a business, and this is a hockey team, and this is a cup contender that is butted up against the cap, and that's 2-0-1. Eventually, those games start ticking down, as I said, 78, 77, 76, and eventually everyone draws the line somewhere different. So fans, some of you drew it in line 1, some in line 2, some in line 3, but the noises get louder as the losses pile up. It's just the pragmatic reality of this. The Minnesota Wild, they're looking like they're ready to contend for a division title. They look fantastic right now. The Jets will knock them off though later this year. Mark my word, Connor Hellebuyck will rebound. He's one of the best in the world. He's in a slump. This is not a cut Connor Hellebuyck time. Connor Hellebuyck absolutely rebounds. We'll bid you adieu. Like, subscribe, join the channel. It's been awesome having you here.